Nope.
Can I use your bathroom? By Reddit user Pikmeir. Since it's October, I couldn't help but remember what happened a few years ago to me on Halloween. Though I'm not a firm believer in the supernatural, it's events like this that make me look back and question, up until this point in my life, what I thought to be true and what I thought was false. This happened 4 years ago. I was sitting on the sofa in my apartment, relaxing with my laptop, waiting for kids to come knock on my door as they usually did. At this point, I was far too old to go trick-or-treating, but I was also not a fan of parties. This year, I just moved into a new apartment. It was further away from the larger homes I lived near before, and fewer kids seemed to be in the area. One of the reasons was that it was an apartment for mostly single guys, and was far enough from my college that people who lived here had to drive to school. Still, I had a small bucket of candy prepared, as usual, which I had been snacking on. The apartments on both sides of me are usually quiet. Nobody lives in the apartment above mine. So far that evening was just a bunch of silence and the occasional music from my laptop. It was almost 7 o'clock and I still hadn't had a single person come by for candy. I suddenly realized that I might have left the outside light off. I wasn't used to my apartment yet, so I opened up the door and looked outside to check. Sure enough, it was off. No wonder nobody had come by. I flipped the switch on and looked back and forth to see if anybody was outside. I didn't see anybody walking around, but it was dark and the complex was large, so I didn't think anything of it. I closed the door and started walking back to my sofa. That was fast, I thought. I walked back to the sofa, stopped the music playing on my laptop, and picked up the bowl of candy. I walked to the door and opened it. A young, dark-skinned boy, probably around 10 years old, stood there by himself. He had what looked like white flowers sprinkled all over the top of his head. He was wearing a SpongeBob shirt, I remember, and didn't seem to be in a costume, or even dressed unusually, except for the white flower on his short hair and on his forehead. He didn't say trick or treat, but looked up at me and seemed almost irritated for some reason.
Can I use your bathroom?
His voice was monotone, almost like he was trying to fake a robot voice. I smiled, a bit shocked that my first visitor was this kid, and he didn't even want any candy. Sure, dude, but be quick. He ran inside past me and closed the bathroom door, locking it behind him. I decided to keep the front door open and stand next to it while I waited for him to come out, holding the bowl of candy while looking to see if anyone else was coming toward my apartment. 10 minutes later, nobody had come, and the boy was still in the bathroom. Are you okay? There wasn't an answer, but I could hear him walking around behind the door. The water faucet had turned on a tiny bit. It was just a tiny stream. I waited by the door. 2 minutes later, and the water was still running. My front door was open, and it was dark outside except for the glow of my porch light. Can you come out for a second? I started worrying if the boy was alright, or if he was playing some kind of prank. After all, it was Halloween. I'm opening the door. I knew it was locked, but I tried wiggling the handle to see if maybe it would budge. The water was running, but I couldn't hear anything else from behind the door. Hey, can you open up? I need to use the bathroom, I said, using that as an excuse. I was starting to panic a little inside. Maybe he was hurt? No answer. Now I'm worrying. I ran my shoulder into the door once, wondering if what I see on TV actually works or not. It really hurt. I try again, and again, and again. I try kicking the door. At this point, I am freaking out. The bathroom didn't have a key, so there was no way to open it. I'm calling the police. Actually, I was worried if the police would even show up in a reasonable amount of time on Halloween. I called them anyway, and they said they were already in my neighborhood and could be right over. When they arrived, I ran outside and unlocked the complex gate for them. then followed them back into my apartment. The two officers arrived, heard the water running, and started kicking at the door. One of them even had a crowbar, but they didn't need to use it. My cheap wooden door busted right open with a few solid kicks. It shot open, spraying paint dust and wood chips everywhere. The first thing I saw when the door opened was the water faucet, still running. Both of the officers pulled out their radios at the same time and entered the bathroom. I ran up behind them to see what happened, but the officers' figures were blocking my view. "Oh boy," I heard one of them say. Now I was freaked out. I couldn't talk. I was already uncomfortable in my new apartment. The last thing I needed was the memory of finding a dead body in my bathroom. Both officers were shuffling around the bathroom, then they stopped, put their radios away, and looked at me sternly. One of them sighed. "I'm not sure what to say. I'm gonna let you off with a warning because it's Halloween." My mind was filled with nothing but confusion and fear. I couldn't even look back at the officers after seeing their expressions. "I'll have one of our guys give you a call tomorrow to discuss this. For now, don't be calling us anymore tonight." Then they walked out of my front door. One of them turned around to look at me and left the door open. In my panic, I ran to my bathroom. The floor was covered in tiny white wood chips from the door. The faucet was off. I didn't even realize the officers had turned it off. Nothing was there. Nothing was even touched. The next morning, I got a call from a woman. I was certain when I answered the phone I was going to be in trouble, but what followed shocked me.
"I was going to give you a call in regards to the prank phone call you made last night, but after reading the report that the police gave me, I'm not too surprised it happened in the first place."
I listened on intently.
"This is the apartment manager, by the way. We had the same call from someone in that apartment about 5 years ago. His call was very similar to yours. Maybe you could ask the police officer about more details, but simply put, when we used to be family housing, a boy died in that bathroom. They say he drowned in the bathtub.
I couldn't say anything.
Happened about 7 years ago. After they left, the next residents called the police a couple years later, saying they had a small boy locked in their bathroom and wanted us to come up. But when we got there, it was empty, just like what happened to you last night."
"So, you're telling me it was a ghost?" That was all I could ask.
"I'm not saying anything, dear. I don't know about all that. I'm just saying that it was not the first time. But the whole bathroom has been remodeled completely since then. It was a very long time ago."
The call continued and we talked about some other things, mostly unrelated to the event of the previous night. I hung up and was feeling a bit shaken. Nothing else happened that day. I decided I'd better call someone to fix the door. The apartment manager told me that she'd pay for it, and then jokingly, she told me not to let any more kids use it. I tried as hard as I could to smile over the phone. The next day the repair company came by. They called my cell phone and I jogged outside to let them in. Right then, it felt like my insides were hit with a rock. I suddenly remembered that my apartment complex had a gate. Nobody without a key could enter. No wonder there were no people trick-or-treating at my apartment. Like I said, most of the residents were single guys. There were no kids that lived there, and no kids could have entered. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this week's story. I want to take a moment to promote a new feature we're introducing in the month of October. Every month, you'll have a chance to win a movie that we'll be giving away. Since we're kicking off in October, the creepiest month of the year, we'll be hosting this contest once a week. That means 4 chances to win. For more information on the giveaway, including rules, regulations, and instructions on how to enter, follow the link in the description below, or simply go to nope2creepy.com. Good luck, everyone.